Hello, and welcome to the Caplexus Capital Podcast, where we bring you real journeys, career insights, inspiring conversations with students and professionals building their future. Caplexus Capital is a platform focused on bridging the gap between academics and industry through live projects, mentorship, and practical learning. I'm Shruti, and I'll be your host for today's session. Today, we are joined by someone from IFMR Graduate School of Business who recently secured a summer internship at JP Morgan. Divya Nayak will be discussing her journey, preparation strategy, placement experience, and advice for students aspiring for top opportunities. So, without further delay, let's welcome Divya. So, hi Divya.
Hello, Shruti.
Before we talk about JP Morgan, can you tell us a little about yourself, your background?
So, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited to be here. So, starting with a quick introduction about myself, I'm currently a MBA second year student, and I'm also working as a CADP intern at JP Morgan Chase and Co. Before this, I completed my undergraduate degree in Bachelor's of Business Administration, and I had a specialization in finance. During my college years, I had the opportunity to intern across different domains like marketing, human resource operations, and business development, which helped me build a broader understanding of how organizations function. Beyond academics, I was also actively involved as a volunteer with a Rotary Club, where I worked on social awareness campaigns. And on a personal note, I also enjoy music and painting, which helps me stay creative and balanced.
That's amazing, Divya. Honestly, your personality suits with whatever you choose so much. So, for my next question, was finance always the plan, or did it develop later during your college and work experience?
Honestly, no. Finance wasn't the plan. When I started my undergraduate journey, I was still exploring different areas like marketing, HR, and sales. I didn't go in with a fixed direction, but as I got exposure to the subjects, I realized that I was naturally more inclined towards finance. What stood out to me was how finance combines analytical thinking with real world impact, whether it's decision making, understanding markets, or evaluating business performance. And also, as of I said that I have had internships in business development, marketing, sales, finance. So it wasn't a predefined choice, but more of an informed decision that developed over time through exposure and experience.
Oh, that's amazing, Divya. That's an amazing insight from your side. Um, when did you decide that you wanted to target companies like JP Morgan and etc.?
Okay, so I think it was during the later part of my undergraduation. I always found investment banks really fascinating and the kind of work they do, the pace and the impact they have. And obviously, firms like JP Morgan, those are leaders in that space. So that naturally became something I started looking up to. So once I was very sure that I wanted to get into finance, I was leaning on towards it. It wasn't just about the field anymore. I knew I wanted to work in that kind of environment. That's when I started becoming more intentional with my choices, especially my MBA, during my MBA, to move in that direction.
That's super helpful, Divya, especially for students who are currently preparing and targeting roles in JP Morgan and finance. So, for my next question, what was your preparation strategy during the placement season?
So, honestly, my preparation strategy wasn't very hardcore, but it was very focused and consistent, I would say. We had a pretty short span of time once we got to know that JPMC was coming to campus for summer internships, and I knew I really wanted to give it my best shot. Given the limited time, I didn't try to add certifications or learn something completely new. Instead, I focused on strengthening what I already had. I spent a lot of time going through my CV in detail and making sure I had complete clarity on what I mentioned so I could confidently talk about my experience. Apart from that, I worked a lot on HR questions. I did not want to give generic or scripted answers, so I tried to build responses around my own experiences and stories, something that felt authentic and personal. I also kept myself updated with current affairs and tried to form my own opinions on them, like what was happening around the world, so I could be a part of the discussion they would put me into. And that's it.
That's really amazing. The most focus we should give on is focusing on our resume. Is that right?
I would say it would be very nice if we have a clarity on what we are mentioning in the resume.
Okay. So, what were the specific things that you actually focused on? For example, like in resume building or academics or certifications.
One of the key things I really focused on was networking, I would say. Since I had a limited amount of time, I felt it was very important to learn from people who had already gone through the same process. So I reached out to seniors from my college who were placed at JPMC in the previous year. Through those conversations, I was able to understand their preparation strategy, the kind of questions they were asked, and most importantly, how they approached those questions. It gave me a much clearer idea of what the company looks for in a candidate. It really helped me streamline my own preparation instead of doing everything. I focused on what actually mattered and aligned my approach accordingly.
So, is networking actually the key to learning new things, like talking to seniors and other batchmates or people from other colleges who have experiences?
I would say when we network with people, we connect with a huge number of crowd. Let's say even if there are 10 people and we try to network with 8 people, we will be able to know about something, gain knowledge about something that we were not aware of. And I think in case of the preparation strategy for the summer internships, as I said that really helped me streamline my own preparation. So instead of doing everything that I thought was important, I got to know that what specific things I am supposed to do for and what expectations they keep from the candidates.
That was a really helpful insight, Divya. So, what do you think helped you stand out? Like, what were the qualities or what is the preparation that helped you stand out in front of the company?
So I think one thing that really helped me stand out was the clarity I had on my own experiences. Given the limited time, I didn't focus on adding new certifications or building my profile further. Instead, I made sure whatever was already on my CV, I understood it thoroughly and could speak about it with confidence. For example, I had worked on a project related to liquidity and profitability. And during the interview, they asked me a few questions around that area. Since I had spent time really understanding the concepts and my approach, I was able to answer those questions comfortably and take the discussion forward. I think that level of clarity made my responses more genuine and helped me come across as someone who actually understands their work rather than just listing experiences.
Okay, so like the knowledge around projects that you have is the most helpful knowledge I would take from your answer. Is that right?
Not really. That was a certain example that I gave that of my project. But for example, I had a few more things also mentioned on my CV. So what made me stand out was the clarity I had, whatever things I mentioned in my CV. So that one example, such I mentioned that the project, it was one of them. And there were a few more things I also had clarity on. So I would suggest whatever things we mention on the CV, we must hold clarity and the confidence to communicate about the same.
So, all in all, clarity matters the most around whatever you are and whatever you are about to speak in your interview. You should have confidence and clarity around it.
Correct.
All right. So, for the next step, can you walk us through the selection process of JP Morgan?
Sure. So, firstly, we got the names of the shortlisted candidates that we got an email that this number of candidates were selected. And then on the very next day, we had our group discussion rounds with different panels, after which a certain number of students from each panel were selected based upon their performance GVs. Then we had a technical round in which we were asked questions based upon our CVs, on our knowledge, and on our understanding of basic concepts. And in the final round, we had a HR round where they asked questions about the company, their values, and certain situation-based questions. And questions also revolved around our understanding of the role. And finally, we were selected.
So, basically, how many rounds were there in total?
So in total, I would say the first round was getting shortlisted, the second round was the GD, the third round was the tech round, and the fourth round was the HR.
All right. So, it has a comprehensive selection process. Uh, so, what matters more according to you?
Correct.
Is it CGPA, skills, confidence, or communication?
If I had to prioritize something over all of this, I would say skills matter the most because at the end of the day, your ability to actually understand concepts and apply them in real situation what makes a difference. That said, skills alone aren't enough. You also need the confidence to communicate those skills effectively, especially in interviews. As for CGPA, I think it plays a role as an initial filter, but beyond that, it's really your skills and how you present them that determine the outcome. So for me, it's skill at the core, supported by confidence, communication, and CGPA acting more as a qualifier.
Okay. So, the most important component out of all four is skills, is what you would say, right?
It's not the most important, but if I had to prioritize something in an order, I would say skill.
All right. So if you had to put them all four in order, in what order would you put it? Keeping skill in the first.
I would say skill, communication, confidence, and then CGP.
All right. So that's an amazing insight from your side. Uh, my next question will be, if someone from the next batch wants to crack top internships next year, what should they start doing today?
I think the best way to start today is by focusing on the basics first. Be very clear about whatever you have mentioned on your CV. You should be able to confidently explain every point over there in the interview. Along with that, building practical skills like Excel and tools like Power BI or Tableau can definitely add value. It's also very important to understand the requirements of the role you are targeting and preparing accordingly. rather than just studying everything randomly. And most importantly, be strong with your core concepts. Interviewers don't expect you to know everything, but they do expect you to be clear on the fundamentals at least.
Okay, so is that advice works for both the summer placements or also the final placement?
I would say for both finals and summers.
All right. So what would be the one skill that you think that every MBA student should master?
If I had to pick one skill, I would say communication, because no matter how strong your technical knowledge or ideas are, they only create impact when you are able to express them clearly and confidently. Whether it's interviews, presentations, or working in a team, communication plays a huge role everywhere. So for me, it's that one skill that consistently makes the difference across situations.
All right. That's amazing hearing from you. Do you think MBA students focus on the wrong things while preparing for placements?
Yes, many MBA students do focus on the wrong things while preparing. Common mistake is over prioritizing certifications, courses, and adding lines to the CV, thinking that more content automatically makes them stronger candidates. In reality, recruiters care much more about how well you understand and explain what's already on your CV. Another issue is ignoring fundamentals. People jump to advanced topics or tools without being clear on basic concepts, which shows up quickly in interviews. Also, a lot of students don't spend enough time on communication and clarity of thought. They may know things, but they struggle to express them confidently and structure their answer well. Finally, many prepare in isolation instead of talking to seniors or understanding the actual process, which leads to unfocused effort. So the problem isn't lack of efforts, is it's misdirected effort. The ones who do well usually keep it simple. Strong basics, clear CV, good communication, and targeted preparation.
I think that's a key point right there that people should focus on one thing rather than many things at the same time. And networking also plays a part, I think, in preparation.
Correct.
That's fair. So, this will be a personal question. So, was there a point during your journey where you almost doubted yourself or felt that things weren't working out?
Absolutely, yes. There was a phase where I did start doubting myself. During my MBA, I faced multiple rejections. I wasn't selected for any of the committees or club. And around the same time, I also got rejected from a couple of companies that came to campus. When all of this happened together, it was quite discouraging, and I did question whether I was on the right track or not. But after taking some time to reflect, I realized that instead of focusing on the outcomes, I needed to work on what I could control. That's when I became more focused and intentional with my preparation and improved my clarity, worked on my fundamentals, and understood where I was going wrong. In hindsight, that phase was important because it pushed me to become better, and eventually things worked out.
That happens a lot, Divya. That happens a lot. But what matters is how you picked yourself back up after that. So, what do you think was the key point that helped you pick yourself back up? Like, was it the detachment from the results?
I would say instead of focusing on what happened in the past, and instead of thinking and rethinking and overthinking about the same thing, that I was not selected for this company, I got rejected from here and there, we should focus on what's upcoming and what's in our hands. So, what's important is instead of holding on to your past experiences and your past rejections. What we can do is instead focus on the current outcomes or what current scenarios or current opportunities what we have on hand. And that is very important that we get rid of the past and instead of holding on to it, we learn from it and implement into our future.
All right. So, during your preparation, what did a typical day look like for you during the summer placement seasons?
All right. So my days were quite structured during that phase. I used to spend most of my time in the library, focusing on revising concepts, preparing interview questions, and going through my CV in detail. I tried to keep my preparation very focused rather than doing too many things at once. During the later part of the day, I would shift to common areas and continue preparing, sometimes discussing with peers or practicing answers. It was definitely a hectic schedule with limited sleeps at times, but I tried to stay consistent and make the most of the time I had before the interviews.
Okay, that's insightful. So, did you spend most of the time in library, and did it affect any of your networking opportunities because of all your time going in into the library?
Not really, because when I used to go to the library, that was after I did my networking. And I did my networking priorly. I discussed with my peers priorly, with my seniors who were already into the same company in the previous years. I was very clear about what I had to focus on. And then I used to go to the library and prepare those concepts, revise them, and go through my CV. So I don't really feel that it affected my networking because I did priorly work on my networking and what questions I had to prepare, where I had to focus. So my time was well structured and well divided among
Okay.
at
That's a really thoughtful way to think about it. So, what's one mindset shift that actually changed your preparation or performance?
one key mindset shift for me was moving from being outcome focused to being process focused. So there were two roles that JPMC came with, and during the first role, I was quite fixated on getting selected, and when I didn't make to it, it was very disappointing. But it was not the same in the for the second role. The Before the second opportunity, I changed my approach. I decided to focus only on my preparation and performance without putting pressure on the final outcome. That shift really helped me stay calmer and more confident during the interview. I was able to think more clearly, express myself better, and just focus on doing my best in the moment. I think that change in mindset made a big difference in turning my preparation into actual performance.
Okay, so most of the students think that way, that they get disappointed when they don't get selected, but it's actually the mindset shift from uh, expectations from the results to focusing fully on the preparation. So, uh, did that
Correct.
really make the change for you? Like, was it the key difference in your performance?
Absolutely, I would say, because for the first role, I was very focused on stuffs like I should get selected and I have to get selected on things like that, which created a pressure in my head that I have to do this. But during the second role, the only thing and only approach that I focused on was that I have to give my best, whether I get selected or not. That's the after thing. But for now, I should not regret after that that I could not perform my best due to pressure.
All right, that's really a great approach towards your journey. So looking back now, what do you think that people overcomplicate the most about getting into companies like JP Morgan?
I think what people overcomplicate the most is the preparation itself. A lot of candidates assume that getting into companies like JP Morgan requires doing a lot of advanced or complicated things. But in reality, it's more about getting the basics right. Instead of focusing what the role actually requires, people tend to do a lot of random preparation, multiple courses, too many resources without any clarity. What really matters is having a strong grasp of fundamental concepts, understanding the role you are applying for, and being able to communicate your thoughts clearly and confidently. So it's not about doing more, it's about focusing on the right thing and doing them well.
Okay, that's something worth noting, and that's a great takeaway from this. So now we would be doing quick answers only rapid fire round. Uh, so let's start.
Sure.
So pick one, Excel or PowerPoint.
Excel.
May I know why Excel?
I think PowerPoint presentations need skills, but they are more of like how much creativity you hold. But Excel is something you need to learn and you need to have an idea about the functions and features they have. Many things in Excel are not directly visible on the screen. They're hidden. And in order to know that, you need to learn Excel. Rather, PPT is, I feel, are more of how much creativity you hold inside you, and you can make a great PPT.
That's really helpful. So for the next question, resume or networking, what mattered more?
Networking, because resume building, I would say, would become a sub point under that. Until and unless you network well with people, you know what certifications are needed, what needs to be put inside that resume, you won't be able to prepare a resume. So, networking is very, very important.
That's a strong point. So moving on to the next question, what would you choose, finance role or consulting role?
Right now, I would say finance roles because right now I would like to explore more in the fields of finance for the upcoming years, and after that, I would like to switch to consulting.
All right. So for the next one is a funny question. So what would you choose, coffee or sleep during placement season?
That is very funny, and most of us tend to sleep during placements, but I would obviously choose a cup of coffee over sleeping over placements because that's a complete risk, and that's a total risk I would rather avoid.
All right, that's fair. I really like that perspective. For the next question, what would you give as a one word for MBA life?
I would say enriching.
Why is that so?
It's because MBA taught me a lot of things. I learned how to present myself. I learned how to communicate in front of such a huge number of people. I've learned to communicate in front of five people, in front of 300 people. And I've learned to be confident. I've learned to prepare PPTs. I've learned to manage my time well. And most importantly, I got into an amazing company I always wanted to get into. So I think it was a very enriching and transformative experience.
That's a really great way to put it. So, which brings me to my next question. One word for when you got the offer call from JP Morgan.
I would say surreal because on the first day I got rejected for the first role, and I was almost very depressed for half of the day. I had no hopes that I would get shortlisted for the second day. And as I said that I went with zero expectations on the second day that I would end up getting selected. I did put least pressure upon myself that I have to get selected. But the moment I got the final email that I have been selected, it was out of this world experience. It was really nice. It was very surreal.
I think that answers the question that most students don't really know that they have. So, my last question, but not the least, if I give you a mic and 30 seconds, what would you say to every MBA student watching this?
Oh, great. If I had to say one thing to every MBA student, it would be don't overcomplicate the process. You don't need to be perfect or you don't need to do everything. Focus on your basics, be clear about your own story, and prepare in a way that actually aligns with the role you want. Also, don't compare your journey with others. Everyone moves at a different pace, and setbacks are a part of the process. Just stay consistent, believe in your preparation, and trust that things will eventually fall into your place at the right time. And maybe get some sleep too, it helps more than you think.
All right, I'm sure a lot of students would relate to this. This is super helpful for anyone targeting a role at companies like JP Morgan. So what I would like to say after this podcast is that this was a really insightful conversation, and I'm sure a lot of students will take away practical lessons from your journey. Thank you so much, Divya, for sharing your experience so openly, from your preparation at IFMR to securing a SIP at JP Morgan, and to everyone watching this. Remember, opportunities like these aren't just about talent, but about consistency, clarity, and showing up every single day. This is Shruti signing off from the Caplexus Capital Podcast. We'll see you in the next episode.